Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Williams. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is, at Egberto Williams. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.
1, 2, 3.
Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Williams, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. But before I get into the show, I have three guests that I interviewed at Netroots Nation 2019. Great folks. One of them's Representative Deb Haaland. I have also Chris Savage, Eclectablog, and anyway, I'll go into that in a little bit. But before, I want to have a little chat with you because there are some important things that are happening. Very, very important things that are happening. As it turns out, my good friends, look, we have to win 2020, and we have to pray. We have to pray. We have to hope that our RGB, Ginsburg, holds on. She had another bout and was in the hospital. They had to have some radiation on her pancreas again. So we wish her well. But most importantly, we have to be cognizant that we have to get, first of all, we have to get people out there understanding that there are things now that are going to be existential in this world, in this country, and in this world, yes, in this world as well. Because we have a sect here. We have a group of people here that science does not matter. Empathy does not matter. It's just about me, and it's just about now. And those people that you see talk about, let's not worry about the environment now, or give the semblance or the belief that somehow we don't really have an environmental problem. Notice I said they give the semblance that they believe there's not an environmental problem. Everybody knows. Do not believe this. Everybody knows that we are in trouble environmentally. Everybody also knows that the vast amount of damage won't be in our lifetime. You know, and that's a difficult thing, right? Seas will rise. Hurricanes will get worse. They all will be getting progressively worse. That's a fact. But you know what? For now, those of us that are in our 40s, those of us that are in our 50s and 60s and 70s, we will be fine. You know, we will be fine. We'll tolerate some of this. A few of us may get hit by the extra wind gust here or there and pay the price, but we'll be fine in the aggregate. The ones that are really going to really suffer are those that come after us. And the question is, can we garner enough empathy? Can we garner enough empathy? Can we garner enough concern for the people that come after us? This is a problem that we created. This is a problem that it's on us to solve. This is a problem with the environment that we have to take care of. And again, the reason I brought that up in the same context that I'm bringing up Ruth Bader Ginsburg, it's because even if we get a president, even if we get a Congress, if we are not cognizant of what's going on in the court system today, we don't understand what's going on. Example, we know that there's a whole lot of climate work we're going to have to do. There's a whole lot of, we're going to be infringing on a lot of what people think are their rights, et cetera, as this stuff goes along. And why are we going to do that? Because, as it turns out, there are certain things that we can't do anymore. I mean, you could have all the oil on your land. Of course, I don't believe in the kind of land ownership that we do here, but you can have all the oil on the that you want on your land. And the thing about it is asking or telling a lot of folks, you know what, we are no longer gonna be able to use those things. It's hard because again, putting all of that back into the air is going to create a problem. And what we're going to have now is we are going to lose the ability to do those things if we lose much more in the court system. Right now, we're at a disadvantage in the Supreme Court. My gut feeling tells me that there is at least one conservative on that Supreme Court that might have a heart, that might have empathy, that will prevent all the policies that a progressive government passes from being declared unconstitutional. But remember, that is what the fight is going to be going forward, right? We can win all the battles. We can win Congress. We can have supermajority in Congress right now and get overturned by a Supreme Court and that's why I've been trying to inform folks of how our system really works, and by figuring out how it works, what we're going to have to do. We made a big mistake in 2016. Yeah, a lot of it was self-inflicted. A lot of it was self-inflicted because we didn't understand. Or no, we did understand, but we thought we could slip by because remember, no matter what, the plutocracy wanted to win. And they won with Donald Trump. And to some extent, not as bad they would have won with Hillary Clinton, but again, with a lot less of the embarrassment that comes with Donald Trump. But now, we're sort of repeating the same thing over with Joe Biden. We have folks pushing Joe Biden. He's the electable one, and we have people that are so scared. We need Joe Biden because he's the one that can win the working class voters. Hey, wait a minute. There are more other voters than just those working class voters that you're talking about. Bring them out. Create policies that they want. Talk about policies that's not going to leave all the crap in your neighborhoods. Talk about policies that's going to make them whole. Talk about these policies. You don't have to work or try to appease a mythical center because there's really no center. There's a belief that there is a center, but there's no center. Folks, if you're just coming on, if you're just listening, please, 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 please share these programs. We need people informed on these issues so badly. Please share these programs. And a lot of times, my brothers and my sisters, this is existential. A lot of things are not immediately evident to a lot of people, and that is one of the reasons for Politcs Done Right on other shows. We really want to try to explain to folks exactly what's going on here because, folks, it is serious. It is really serious. So again, Ginsburg is ill again. She just had radiation treatment. We pray for the best. We hope for the best. We need the best to happen because absent that, we could be in a lot of trouble if we lose another Supreme Court seat. And you can bet your life, if a Supreme Court seat becomes available in the next few months, it will be assigned immediately. It will be assigned immediately. There will be no wait. There will be no period of check-in because they all know what is likely to happen in November. They all know what is likely to happen in November. So folks, please share these programs. Please share our websites. Please share our YouTubes. Please share, make sure people get to see all these things. Now, our president is all right, the conventional wisdom is that he's a madman. Some folks also like to believe that all of this is planned. Some folks like to believe that he's playing three-dimensional chess, six-dimensional checkers. None of that is true. He's just playing it by the boot of his pants or the however you say that. But I tell you something. He knew he was going to have an effect on the stock market today. That stock market turned around where just as soon as he sent out that tweet saying, I command all, or something to this effect. The president came out and commanded all corporations to leave China and start seeking their products elsewhere. He doesn't have that power. But notice he's saying it. He's starting to articulate these things. and with no pushback from a lot of his own people, he may start believing that is how America works. But that's what he's doing. He just sent a tweet out, and now I think he kind of changed it after he got some push. I don't know if he changed it or not, but there's a new one out that says, our country has lost stupidly trillions of dollars with China over many years. They still have stolen our intellectual property, all that crap that he talks about. But then he says, I command you guys, I command business to go out there. I command business to go out there and leave China. You know what this guy's messing with? And a lot of people don't know this, right? It's easy to say China is the bad dog. China is not the bad dog. China is doing what any other country will do. If you want to bring the money over here, if you want to use our resources over here, we're going to say thank you so kindly. Thank you very, very much. The culprits here are our corporations who decided that our labor here, they didn't want to pay it. They didn't want to pay quite, and they just took it overseas. That is what happens. And so let's be clear here. China is not doing anything any other country would not do. If we want to make change, we don't hit China, we hit our corporations. Our corporations are the ones who make the decision to go to China. Period. So let's not play games over here. So now he's commanding these corporations, oh, please now. You are not pleased, you're commanded is what he said, or you're ordered to do. I think he said ordered or commanded or something of that nature. That is a shame. That is a sham. Anyhow, folks, let's go ahead and get started with the program. Let me get it up here on the screen. I think I can get it up on the screen. Yeah, I think I can get it up on the screen. Okay, title of the show today is 3 Great Guests on Medicare, Social Security, Progressive Values, and Engagement. Today we meet more political activists and a congresswoman doing the real work in the field. We discuss Social Security, Medicare, and much, much more. But this complement of guest talks, engagement, Social Security, Medicare, and much more. We spoke to these activists, influencers, and progressive at Netroots Nation 2019. These are activists and politicians. They're really, really making a difference. I speak to John Bowzer Bauman. I don't know if you guys remember Shanana, the guy. Do you remember? Or it's time to go. Shanana. We have that. We have him on. Then we also have Deb Haaland, who is the congresswoman from New Mexico. She's a staunch progressive, and she is, I think, just the second Native American to serve in Congress or something of that nature. And then we have Chris Savage, who is a publisher of Eclectablog. And look, he's doing some great work in I think it's the Detroit area. So anyhow, what we're going to do is we're going to play these guys, and then we're going to come back on the other side. But folks, we have so much work, mucho trabajo para hacer, a lot of work to do. So anyhow, let's go ahead and get started with John Bowzer. Yesterday, I heard that and then I said, wait a minute. I remember in my youth, I used to hear that a whole lot. And who did I come upon? Mr. John Bowzer Bauman, the guy I listened to doing that all along.
Well, How are you good. Doing, now I can't do it. You're too good.
You know you can do it. How you
that
doing
was
today?
Too operatic. It was very good. I was very impressed.
Let me tell you something. When I heard it, the ears went like that. I said, I remember that. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great.
You are at a progressive conference in Philadelphia. What are you doing here?
I've been to pretty much every one of these for the last, 5 or 6 years? 7, yeah, something like that.
And who are you representing?
These are very important. Well, I am a volunteer. I do everything that I do for free in this area, but I am president of what's called Social Security Works PAC.
Right.
And we work on senior issues, so we work on Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, fighting to lower drug prices. And, I'm pleased to say that during the last election cycle, we work on, my purview is elections.
Right.
And during the last election cycle, I actually physically went to 57 different campaigns.
Wow.
And did events with 57 different candidates.
Right.
So probably about, with multiple events for candidates, probably did about 100 events altogether or something like that. And every one of them was about bum 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 dang a dang dang ding a dong ding. I love Social Security.
Yes, hey, look, how else am I going to start the morning, man?
Low notes are good in the morning.
Low notes are good in the morning because you're still there. Now, how have you been finding the space these days at promoting Social Security, promoting these things? Because, in these times, how we've gotten with, we don't want these programs or we want to cut these programs. How successful have
blissfully,
you been?
very successful.
Right.
And in this last cycle, seniors, there are two things about older voters. Number one is that they always show up.
Right.
Number two is that they don't always vote in their own best interest.
Right.
Right. And we're used to that. We have been losing older voters for several cycles now. One of the biggest things that happened in this last cycle was that we pretty much broke even. We were at 49% of older voters, and because they always show up, it makes an enormous difference.
Right.
So one of the biggest reasons why we were able to flip, 40 or 41 seats, depending on what happens in North Carolina,
right,
in that special election was, or the redo of North Carolina
I know
9.
what you mean, yeah.
Right, pretty much one of the biggest reasons that we were able to accomplish all this was because we changed the dynamics with older voters who showed up like they always do in droves.
And you know what? You earlier you said they normally vote against your interests often. The interesting thing about it is they don't know it, and having people like you going out there, because I don't want to make light of this. I mean, a lot of folks first know you because they see you on TV.
This is why I'm fairly valuable in this fight.
Right.
Is because I can get some attention. I can get some earned media for the candidates.
Right.
We can focus on the issues.
Right.
And when you get older voters to focus on the issues that really do affect them, they normally do come over to our side
and do the right thing.
Right. For themselves.
Right.
And for the country as a whole.
Absolutely.
Because the simple facts are, before Social Security was passed in 1935, 50%. A little bit over 50% of American seniors had incomes below the poverty line.
Right.
And before Medicare was passed in 1965, still a little bit over 35% of American seniors had incomes below the poverty line. So these Social Security and Medicare are literally the two most successful domestic programs in the entire history of the United States of America. And they have brought the poverty rate among seniors down to 8.7% from 50%.
Imagine that.
So that's a tremendous difference. And once you get people to focus on that, they really understand how important these programs are.
And understand the reality behind it.
Right. And, relative to the question you initially asked, it really is important to note that we have moved the goalposts from discussions of no cuts, which were even like a couple of cycles ago. The goalposts have now moved to expansion.
That is so important.
Right, it's the critical thing. And our questionnaire, which was pretty simple, was only 5 questions for a candidate, was will you vote to expand Social Security, vote to expand Medicare, vote to expand Medicaid as defined in the Affordable Care Act, fight to lower drug prices, and will you always use the term earned benefits to describe Social Security and Medicare and never refer to those programs as entitlements. And that was the entire questionnaire.
Wow.
So all 75 of our endorsees, which included people running as Democrats who were definitely centrist or even sort of conservative Democrats, agreed to all 5 of those questions. So what that really means is that even members of people who joined the Blue Dog Caucus of the Democratic Party have pledged to fight for Social Security expansion.
Right.
And that's a big change from the way things have been in the past.
I think that is so important. Well, please, in closing, give a message directly in that camera to our listeners.
Well, the message is always, for me, going to be the same, which is good night and grease for peace. And don't forget about Social Security and Medicare.
And go vote. My
And of
brother,
course, go vote.
thank you so kindly.
My
and you
pleasure.
have
It's great
a
to talk to
wonderful
you.
day and enjoy the rest of the conference.
You too.
All
Thank
right. Now, was that fun or what? Was that fun or what? Anyhow, I hope that you enjoyed the good old guy from Shanana. We had some fun out there. Actually, we went out after we did that interview. We kind of stood up in front of this other booth and kind of played around, singing, etc., etc., etc. But I mean, what he had to say was very important. He talked about people doing against their own interests and all that good stuff. Folks, if you're just joining us, we have 3 great guests with us today. We are talking that was John Bowzer Bauman from Shanana, who is now a real progressive activist working on Social Security, Medicare for all, and the works. I mean, a lot of people are changing what they've been doing to get into. They're noticing that we have to get something done, that we have to do something, we got to engage. There are those who are they're just living their lives and maximizing what they can. There are those who are living their life and contributing to help us do what we need to do, right? And then there are those of us who are just out there in the field and that we have to do. And that's, you know what, I'm going to take that time to segue into asking you to please go ahead and support Politics Done Right by subscribing. We need hundreds of subscribers, and it's very inexpensive, and we do our part. So please go ahead and go to politicsdoneright.com and click on becoming a Patreon or one of those things. Go to patreon.com/politicsdoneright is another option for you. As I see it, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom is a book that I wrote a while back, and that book, you can read it online. Every book that I write, you can read online once you become a member. We're going to start being more functional with our groups, sort of creating that bigger family that just stays here and work together on these particular issues. And again, the book that I'm writing right now is called How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy, or rather Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It. And of course, I have another thing that I have here called Lose Weight and Be Fit. Now, the reason I'm selling this book, I wrote this book also, is because, again, I had several scares with my blood pressure. It changed my life, and I kind of put it out on how I did it. And why am I putting this on a political site? Because all these things I am doing to attempt to raise funds so that we can continue doing what I'm doing now. I also would like to offer you to go to our store.politicsdoneright.com, where you can get several T-shirts and other good swags. Right now, the one of them that I'd like take a look on, the one with the squad. We also have the one that featuring women. It's women has already won. That kind of a T-shirt, and of course we have the hat, and we also have the cup. So please consider supporting it by either subscribing. I would much prefer subscriptions, as many as you can, and encourage others to subscribe. But if also consider getting some of our swag. All right, we're going to continue now with the program, and what we're going to have Representative Deb Haaland now talking about, let me put it in her hands. Here we go. I'm here with Congresswoman Deb Haaland of New Mexico 1. Welcome aboard Politics Done Right. It is my pleasure, Politics Done Right, it's my pleasure to have you here this morning.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me.
Congresswoman, please, first of all, the first question that I'm going to ask you, because it's been our passion for a long time. What is your position on Medicare for all?
Maybe this will answer your question. I'm in the Medicare for All caucus, so.
Okay, it's not enough that you're in the Medicare for All caucus, because a lot of Congress people, what they would say is, yes, I'm in a caucus and I've signed this. I want to know, are you a real supporter of Medicare for All?
Absolutely, because everybody deserves to have health care in this country.
Right.
Everyone deserves to have health care. And so anywhere that is the model for Medicare for All has taken place in other countries, the health care costs have been less and more people have been able to be covered. So yes, I am for it. I will actively work toward it. I want to make sure that every single person in this country has health care. When you are covered and your kids are covered, your life becomes better because you don't have to worry about people turning you away when you need to go see a doctor. So I just feel that's the way to go. It'll save us money, and we need to do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's for a long while I just could not understand why this was so complicated. I mean, I followed this throughout Canada, the UK, France, and all these other places, and they're all healthier than we are.
Exactly. So, I did my year abroad in Swansea, Wales,
right,
when I was a junior in college. And even if you're not a citizen of that country, if you're sick, you just go to the doctor.
Right.
They don't ask you for a passport or where are you from, and we're not going to serve you because you're not as. They will see anybody. You just go in there, and the doctor sees you.
Now, the 2020 election is upon us, and one of the things that many people have been saying, including myself, is I don't think we as a party, Democrats as a party, are necessarily fighting hard enough for a lot of progressive policies. I noticed that it seems like in the group of candidates that we have, we probably have two factions, a faction of 5 that are going real progressive, and some that are saying, well, we need to tack to the center. Do you think first of all, do you think there's really some center, or do you think it's likely a mythical thing?
Well, first of all, I think it's time to be bold in our country, because look what's happening with the president we have.
Right. I wasn't going to talk about the president.
No, but it's we have to be bold. We have to counteract everything that he's been doing since he's been in office. I think that I'm just going to tell you one thing real quick. When I ran for office, I was rated the most progressive candidate in the field of primary candidates. I had 5 opponents. When I ran, so I won. When I ran in the general election, I won by 23 points in a +7 district.
Wow.
It was only a +7 Democratic district.
Imagine that.
So that means that independents and Republicans voted for me.
Right.
On a progressive message.
Right.
On climate change, on renewable energy economy, on health care, on public education, on all of those things. So I believe strongly that a progressive message works for everybody. We don't have to just campaign to progressive voters. Our message works across the spectrum. If people in rural, Louisiana, Mississippi feel like their issues are going to be championed by somebody, why wouldn't they vote for that person?
Congresswoman, you're my hero. I think there's something that you said that the polls actually corroborate. The polls say when not given a progressive slant or a right slant, the polls say that 60% plus of people support the progressive policies, from schools to healthcare to all these different policies. 60%. It concerns me that not only the Republican Party to some extent, but the Democratic Party continuously searches for this mythical center. What we need, in my opinion, are bold candidates.
Yes.
And you're proven to be one. Bold candidates that are going to go out there and really represent what the people are asking for, and not what some in what I call the elite are stressing, simply what I think is corporate based.
Yes, I think bold is the way to go.
That's true. Now, let's change the subject a little bit. Let's get a little bit ethnic here.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I think I can get a little bit ethnic.
You can.
Right? Okay. All right. You are one of the first Native Americans in Congress.
Native American women.
Women in Congress. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, tell me, what does that mean to you?
It means that I have a responsibility to make sure that I am giving voice to folks who haven't had a voice in this Congress.
Right. And don't you find it ironic that we are at 2019 and the and I excuse the way I'm going to say this, but the originals of this country representation in Congress is that limited.
Yes. It is. It's terrible. That's why I ran.
And that's why you won.
Yeah,
huh?
that's why I ran. Well, I won because I feel like I
no, I'm not
worked
saying-
extremely hard.
I am not talking one on ethnicity. I'm talking about winning on originality.
Well, I'd like to think so, sure.
Right. but Congresswoman, one last thing on the Green New Deal.
Yes.
Your position?
I'm a co-sponsor, original co-sponsor.
Okay, and
We're working on it. You know, I think it's kind of funny how a lot of Republicans are, you know, saying what it is. They're saying what they think it is, and it's not that. Those of us who accept, I mean, in a way we understand and we believe that climate change is absolutely ruining our planet when,
Right.
you know, when Anchorage, Alaska is 90 degrees.
can you believe that? Yes.
That's scary as hell, pardon my language. That's a scary thing that we have to do something about this. It's an urgent matter. We can't wait. No matter how expensive it is, we need to change our world. We need to change this country. We're the biggest polluters. 25% of carbon 25% of the carbon that goes into the atmosphere from our country comes from our public lands. Did you know that?
No, I did not.
That's
I knew
terrible.
we did a lot, but that's terrible.
Public
That
lands.
means we have control.
Yes, we are giving too many leases to fossil fuel industries and not enough to renewable energy industries. We need to change what's happening in our country, and yes, we're working toward that.
I love that. Please give a direct message to our audience on voting and a direct message to our audience on progressive values.
So look, everybody, we need to be bold this 2020 election, and you have a job, that is to make sure that our progressive message goes out to everybody. We don't need just progressives to vote for our progressive candidates. We need everybody. Our messaging works because we care about working families, because we care about children, because we care about our climate, because we care about what is happening to children on our southern border. So let's get with it.
Congresswoman Deb Haaland, it's a pleasure having you.
The pleasure's
and
mine.
you are a progressive hero.
Thank
Have
you.
a great day.
Thanks.
Okay, that was Congresswoman Deb Haaland, and again, she was a wonderful person to talk to. Look, let's see. Michael Cisak, I'm going to hit your message first. We are not the biggest polluters. We are not the biggest polluters. China doubles us. That's true. But China has about 4 times the amount of people that we have. So per capita, per human being, they are polluting quite a bit less than we are. And let me give a lot of people some, I'm going to give this right-wing crazy guy in Brazil some kudos for something that he said. I don't think 2 wrongs make a right, but I just want to show you how things are, right? Mr. Brazil said, Bolsonaro said, when France and all these other countries are saying, you guys got to do something about those fires in the Amazon, which is true. You got to stop cutting down the Amazon, which is true. Bolsonaro came back and said, but wait a minute, that's colonialism, imperialism. You are trying to tell us what to do with our natural resources. Nobody gave you hell when you were cutting down your entire forest in America, when you were cutting down your forests in Europe and all of that. You got rid of your carbon sinks. And now you want us, the ones that control 20% of keeping up 20% of the breathing or the oxygen in the world. Now you want to tell us how to manage it when we had no control how to manage what you did. And that is where working together is so important, right? Because America, the powerhouse that is America, got to be a powerhouse by taking so much more of its share than everybody else, right? So it is a fact then that if you are asking others to deny themselves the same structures that you use to get ahead, that you have to partake on helping that. A lot of people think, well, why are we giving them these things to not burn fuel, or why are we giving them this to not do that? Because the way we got where we got is what we don't want them to do. We don't want them to burn down their forests. We don't want them to cut down their forests the way we did. We don't want them to enslave people to get work the way, well, they did that too. But what I'm saying is people just don't get it. And why working nations have to work together is that we live on one planet and we are so dependent on each other. So this environmental thing is not about China being the biggest polluter and America not. No, let's look at the aggregate pollution over the years and see who is the biggest polluter, Mr. Cisak. If we were to put a footprint to the carbon that's out there that's causing all the problem, who is the originator? Where is the genesis of all the carbon in the air, of all the methane in the air, of all these things in the air that's causing the issue? So you are completely and entirely incorrect in your analysis. Masticator, my good friend, says, this is what happens to your mind when you see everything in adversarial terms, always identifying a victim. No, I am not. Masticator, you know what happens a lot of times in life? And then I'll go to the last person. But what happens a lot of times in life, and by the way, this is a call-in show, folks. You can call 646-716-5812. Again, that number is 646-716-5812. Masticator, here's the deal. This is not about being adversarial at all. What this is about is much more important than being adversarial. What this is about is being fair, and not only being fair, but if we're not fair, we will pay the price. Because all we need is for people to say, you know what, to hell with America, and we're just going to do things the way we want to do it, and that is the easiest way to go downhill thereafter. Anyway, so no, it's not adversarial. America, if America is asking others to do things, one has to ask, what is America doing and what has America done? You have to do that. Or else it's not fair to the other person, and they'll sit down and say, no, I'm not going to take the short end of the stick. Same thing as India is saying. India is saying, you want us to, India is one of the biggest markets that's likely to occur with cars. We want them to have electric cars because we know the amount of pollution that one country with over 1 billion people can produce. Now, but we don't do that. We have our gas car, we're pumping out gas and pumping out all these pollutants in the air. We don't have anything to worry about. We have to be fair. If we want them to do certain things, there has to be some pushback. Let me go beforehand and get to the other questions that I think I saw directly in here that I hadn't answered yet. Dow dropped 620 points. Let me tell you what I think. I think Donald Trump is stooging the market, and I think he has a friend. Speculation, this is not factual. I always tell you that when I'm doing that kind of stuff. But he stooged the market, let the market go down, and then some one of the friends buy it up. I bet, it wouldn't surprise me who the president is. Okay, let's see. CSEC said the UK and Canada restrict access to healthcare services to keep inflation under wraps. There are higher death rates from curable diseases in the UK. Okay, let's get Mike CSEC. You know better than that. The survival rates in Great Britain and every other industrialized country is greater than America. This not only the survival rate, but the length of time one lives, which is how you can measure healthcare, is greater in every country in the EOC, period. That's an absolute statement. And when it comes to saying that Canada and the UK restricts healthcare, that is no different than what we do in the United States. The only difference is that more people get healthcare in the UK, more people get healthcare in Canada, and what they restrict, what happens with restrictions really is maximal use of items. In other words, they're not going to buy 10 different x-ray machines. They're going to use the holy hell out of that x-ray machine. We will have a whole lot of rich doctors that put up their own x-ray machines all over the city. Very easy to access, of course, nice, easy to access, but that costs a whole lot more. I mean, healthcare isn't something that people need to have like super nice things, right? But anyhow, so that's not a true statement at all, Mr. Cisak. The progressive message is something in practice by Native American Indians who have no private property and depend on nearly everything by the federal government. They are extremely poor except for the few leaders who get everything. Wow. Do you know what that statement really says? Do you understand, to make a statement like that, you have to realize that the invaders came, they changed the format of life of these indigenous people these indigenous people didn't depend on money. These indigenous people didn't depend on any of these things. They had their own form of living. The invaders came to to this land and did their thing and exterminated them after they helped them do their thing. And you're going to complain that we're giving things to these people after you've taken over the land that they don't believe in owning, and you've done all these things, and you have the nerve really to talk about, oh, we're giving them this. You took everything. All the oil in the land you took. Everything you took. So why are we going to complain when we have to give more to these people where we took their culture, we took everything? I mean, the height, my brother, the height of your privilege. Think about that. You came into a place, you took it, and then you complain, oh, we changed the whole format, and now this is what, oh, come on. I thought you knew better than that. Okay. What other country is comparable to the major superpower with 320 million, a highly diverse population with ever-diminishing social trust? We can't just look to a Nordic country system to scale up. Yes, we can. I mean, but you see, the problem is there is so much evil in this country by some people. And the thing about it is, when you have a sect that controls communications, in other words, I can talk to thousands of people and get along fine, and not only get along fine, but we have a conversation where we finally get down to honesty and people knowing that, these are the best things for us to do. And then comes the evil, like the Donald Trumps of the world, bombastically putting people against each other, letting folks believe that somehow it's the other that caused their problem. In the case of in America, what Donald Trump is trying to do is to make white people believe that these others are taking their birthright. What they don't tell these people is that it's not the others taking away their birthrights. It's pretty much their own taking away their birthrights. They're taking away you are thinking they're taking away something you never had. It's amazing. It's amazing how the dynamic works. You are fighting people you are claiming are taking things away from you that you've never really had. It's a figment of one's imagination to control you. And all the bad things that happen in society, it wasn't the immigrant that did it to you. It wasn't the black folk. It wasn't the Latino folks. None of these folks did anything to. All the drugs in Appalachia were created, designed, and marketed by these corporations. And you know who run these corporations? They're the one who infected these neighborhoods and created the dissension in these neighborhoods. When the factories were going overseas, it wasn't the other that sent the factory overseas. It's just that they didn't care enough about you to think that you mattered enough to keep the factories here. They said, our fiduciary responsibility is to the shareholder. We only have a fiduciary responsibility to our shareholder. And you know who most of the shareholders are. In other words, screw you. If you were ever to sit back and wanted to be realistic, and first of all, yes, most of the damage done on you was caused by corporations. And who runs most of the corporations? White people. Now, funny, I am not blaming white people for the plight of all these things that's going on. I don't. I blame the corporate structure, because when I say white people, I put people like Oprah Winfrey in that bag as well. It seems like when people get a certain level of richness and billionaire, they become a class that becomes that has no empathy And whenever they're getting rid of their money to donate or give away, somehow they have to see a benefit out of that for them. They don't altruistically say do something, Crazy person like me altruistically say, I'm going to go ahead and do this and promote good values, promote progressivism, make this a better country. Costs a hell of a lot. Costs the status that once one had. So look in the mirror at the people, or look to see who has really caused you harm. It wasn't the other that exported your job, nor did they cause your jobs to be exported. It wasn't the other that actually polluted all of folks here in Appalachia and elsewhere with drugs, with the opioids. It wasn't the other that made sure that you could not afford health care. It was the concept of the corporation. Our sole responsibility, we have a fiduciary responsibility to our shareholders, not to you. You are just the raw material. You are just the commodity. Doesn't matter if you're white, black, Latino, Asian, it doesn't matter. You see, that's why I always talk about race being so stupid. I talk about it because America is obsessed sillily with race. But it has very little to do with that. It has everything to do with a small sect having power, keeping others fighting among each other so that they won't see where the problems really lie. Lee Grant, if you really want to discuss what I mean by that, I can also tell you about the guy who gave all the monies to the university, the $40 million. I looked and I said, don't give the university $40 million. Invest in something that actually pay your taxes so that we can actually have a true public system, so that we don't have the chosen. He chose one university to make those people whole, but millions of people elsewhere are not whole. We pay our taxes and we make the universities public. Everybody gets a chance to take advantage of the goodness of this country. Egberto is obsessed with groups based on outward appearance so he can say they are victims of the other groups. No, again, that is you, sir. That's you. Projection. My brother, you're projecting. I said, I do not believe in race, but I have to speak race because that's what Americans believe, okay? And in fact, when I talk about Oprah, if you notice that, Lee Grant just says Oprah equal white people. That's crazy talk. Don't listen to the words. Understand the concept that I'm trying to bring out. Try to listen with an open mind. What I'm trying to state here for all of us is the problem isn't race or anything between all of us. The problem is a corporation making those underneath believe that there is an issue. They fight among each other so they don't have clear vision as to what the problem is. So what I try to do is bring the clear vision and ask you, every single problem that we currently have in this country that they have tried to attribute to the other can easily be attributed to the corporation and how they must function. Their fiduciary responsibility is to the shareholder at all cost. So therefore, if it means making you addicted to drugs by pushing it onto you, that's what they're going to do. If it means overcharging you for health care, that's what they're going to do. If it means whatever it means, they're going to do it. And that's what has been happening. And we sit down there, you fighting me, I'm not fighting you, I will never fight you, but you fighting me or you calling me names or whatever, then what happens then is you see that we are so much engaged with fighting each other that we do not fight where the problem really is, and it's that top of the chain. They're the ones that have infected you. They are the ones that have overcharged you. They are the ones that took your jobs away. They are the ones that made sure you're not educated. They are the ones that did all of that. When they decided that they wanted tax cuts, it means that they couldn't fund the universities. Okay? When they decided that they wanted tax cuts, it means that the infrastructure that has been killing Americans throughout, with bridges falling, with skidding, with hitting bumps and destroying their cars. When all of those things happened, it wasn't the other that did it. It was the greedy folk who didn't want to pay taxes, who wanted to maximize profits by making drugs. And if you doubt what I'm saying, Claritin, that good old drug, I wrote this in my book, As I See It, Class Warfare, the Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom. Claritin, great drug. It's come out of patent. They throw another little piece in there, call it Clarinex, back on patent again, and we overcharge you. Brothers and sisters, why would I mean anyone harm? Why, you try to talk about, oh, you left-wing pink. No, it's not about left-wing pinko. It's about what's right or wrong. It's about what's best for humanity. We aren't victims of corporations. They can't charge me anything unless I need something from them. Then it's an exchange agreed on. Oh, you keep believing that. You keep believing that, Mike Cisak. You are a good farmer, and they've screwed you well. And in as much as they screwed you well, my dear brother Mike Cisak, you still are refusing to see the light because there is this block. Because if you ever open your eyes and see the block, you'll realize that we are all the same and we all have the real, true enemy. That thing about contract with the corporation and all of that, you have to have power to do that. Listen to my talk on pricing power. Pricing power. You have none. It's only the people with pricing power. When I had my software company, I had pricing power, and I decided I had to release that because I said to myself, the things that I preach about is what I'm doing. $10,000 for a license. And then, the company will pay $10,000 for a license. But when you think about it, no, the company's not paying $10,000 for the license. I had pricing power to them. They have pricing power down the chain. And the only ones without pricing power is you. And the vast majority of people are left without pricing power. Let me get to the last video, then I'll come back and close out the show. But thank you so kindly, guys, for listening. Here we go. Welcome back to Politics Done Right. As you know, we're bringing the movers and shakers, all those activists on the ground that are making things happen. Today, again, or right now, we're with Chris Savage, the owner, author, publisher, all that good stuff of Eclectablog.
That's right, Eclectablog.
Talk to me. Tell me a little bit about it.
Good to be here. So Eclectablog is the premier progressive blog in Michigan. We cover about half of what we talk about is politics in Michigan, and then we cover a lot of national and international stuff as well. We've recently expanded, well, not recently, a couple years ago, expanded into a podcast called the GOT MFV Show. And our tagline is turning words into votes, and we're really just trying to connect people with the information that they need to be smart about their organizing and smart about supporting the issues that are important right now. We've done 3 consecutive weeks, for example, on the issue of immigration on our southern border, talking to experts about things that are pertain to that. And so we're just having a really good time trying to get the word out and informing people.
Well, I think that is what's so important right now, because I think while we have a whole lot of notions on TV, everybody talking about, we have to actually see this occurring on the ground.
Absolutely right.
And that's what I like with what you're doing. You're making sure that it's not only what they're talking about on the high level on TV, but you're actually making it happen on the ground.
We're trying to connect people into things that they can either do to take action or support others who are taking action.
And that is important for us to do. Now, I want to change the subject a little bit and go back to your blogging. How is that going? Are you still active doing that? Or?
I am still actively writing, not as much as I used to. I wish I had more time. I have a day job, so that, and then I've also become the chair of the county party, the Democratic Party, where I live near Ann Arbor in Michigan, and that consumes a lot of my time, but that's also really, in my opinion, fruitful of work, because it's creating infrastructure locally to have a sustainable, get out the vote operation and just addressing the issues. Really, that's the big thing right now, is expanding our program beyond just getting out the vote and talking, having things for people to engage in locally, just like we do with the blogging, connecting them to things where they can make a difference.
Now, you're on the ground and you're talking to a lot of people. What do you find that people are most interested in, and what can we most get people interested in? going forward?
Yeah, it depends on where you are. Obviously, the overriding Trump administration dark cloud that hangs over all of us is a big part of it, and that's motivated a lot of people. Just between the August primary and the 2018 election, we had 400 volunteers come and do something with the Washtenaw County Democrat.
400.
Yeah, we had never seen anything like that, and so our task is to build infrastructure that can take that influx of that many people and put them to work on things that are meaningful to them and that they can be effective at.
No, that's in Michigan, right?
Yeah, so this is where Ann Arbor is. It's called Washtenaw County. Ann Arbor is there. A sister city there is Ypsilanti, which is sort of you can think of it as a mini Detroit. It's a 40% African American community, a lot of poverty there. So where you've got affluent, white, liberal Ann Arbor, right next door you've got, not so affluent black Ypsilanti.
Right.
And there are literally, it's split by a highway that goes north and south, and
Believe
so we
it or
do
not,
a lot.
I was out there last year, and I actually, the guy who drove me from the little farm that we were into Detroit told me about that.
So and I grew up, at least for a while, in Ypsi. I was there for about 6 years when I was in grade school, so I have great fondness for Ypsilanti. It's got heart. But it's got a lot of problems. It's got schools that are struggling. It's got it's like I said, it's a lot of poverty there. So one of the things that we're trying to do is just make sure that we're not just addressing the issues of the rich white liberals in Ann Arbor, but we're also addressing the immigrant community that's in Washtenaw County in general, the people who are dealing with poverty issues and outside of affluent Ann Arbor and places like Ypsi, and then just trying to be a relevant organization.
In effect, putting progressive back into progressivism.
That's exactly what it is. It is, and it's at the ground level, like you said. So it's this is where you engage people where they are, and I hear that a lot. As I'm here at Netroots Nation, I've been to several panels, and one of the pieces of advice that I hear repeatedly from panelists is make sure you're addressing people where they are. So if you say, "Wow, we can't get people from Ypsilanti to come to our meetings," well, perhaps we're having those meetings at a time when people that are holding down 2 or 3 jobs can't make it there. So, So we need to be thinking about that.
Absolutely. So let me ask you one last thing. How can we get in touch with you first of all with your blogging?
Yes, so
because look, you were one of the originals, okay? To put it bluntly, you were one of the original political blogs out there that had a whole lot of coverage. I mean, we were addicted to Eclectablog back in the day, okay? Now, so tell us a little bit about how do we get back to you?
So Eclectablog is ECLECTABLOG, Eclectablog. You can email me personally at eclectablog@gmail. And then the GOTMFV show is on iTunes and Stitcher and all of those platforms. It's a partnership that I do with a guy named Jason Sattler, who runs the LOL GOP Twitter feed. Most people that follow progressive Twitter know who LOL GOP is. He's an insanely smart, insanely funny guy, and we have great, really some superlative guests on it. We have people like Ari Berman and people like that. So anyway, those are the 2 main areas where you can connect with me.
Well, excellent. It's a pleasure having you, Chris Savage.
All right, Egberto,
every year
That's right.
we see each other
That's
here
right.
at Netroots, which means, you know what? The job is getting done.
That's right.
Thank you so
All
much. Okay, that was Chris Savage. Great guy. He was one of the starters of this whole political progressive blogging movement for quite some time now. Great blog, eclectablog.com. Anyhow, let me get to a couple of these messages real quick. People have agency over themselves. Drug companies do not force dependence. No, they do not. But if a doctor prescribes a pill to you and you are not well informed that that pill can cause dependence, and then you become dependent on that pill because of biological reasons, oh yeah, the drug companies knew about it and that's what they did. Folks, I find it ironic that the people at least should be out there defending the people that are harming them are always out there, and it is more than economic. Let me ask those of you out there, people like CSAC, because I think one of these days I will get to you, my brother CSAC. I think one of these days I will show you how I will get you to believe what we're saying, because the Powell Manifesto was a strong document. The Powell Manifesto was very, very effective. And I have to try to make politics done right that much more effective in talking to people like you. Because the truth of the matter is, they're killing you. They are killing you. A lot of you here that are here defending the corporations, they are killing you. Yeah, you know, and that's fine. You know, the thing about it is, I'm willing to work at that, Mike Cisak. I really am, because I understand what's going on and I can see clearly, right? And it's not saying that you know, objectively, and that's where I'm going. But anyhow, folks, we're getting ready to shut this baby down. Let me check one more place to see if I have any more. Okay, I think I'm fine. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. Please remember to go to politicsdoneright.com. Please go to politicsdoneright.com and support us. We really need your support. We really need your support. And Mike, you should be supporting us as well. All my conservatives should be supporting us as well. So go ahead and become members and join our club. It's always good to have a club made up of a whole bunch of people with different ideas, even those that are giving you the other side, because it forces you to think. So Mike, you should become a subscriber as well, my friend. I don't know if you're one. I don't think you're one, but you should become a subscriber, Mike. Anyway, my name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right, and you know how I end this baby. I am what? Out!
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is, at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.
1, 2, 3.